pandemic, the number of people using bicycles just exploded. You may remember that bikes were one of the items severely impacted by demand and supply chain issues.
A lot of that was driven by people just looking for a reason to get out of the house, but environmental concerns played a role in motivating people to hop on a bike as well. And cities around the world responded to that. Montreal was already a leader in making space for bikes, and now they're working on an expansion that would double the city's sweeping bike network, spanning hundreds of miles in the next 4 years.
Washington, D.C. built nearly 20 miles of protected lanes for cyclists since 2021. Bogota, the capital of Colombia, turned over entire lanes of traffic to bicycles, among other steps. That earned them international recognition.
In Europe, the Belgian city of Brussels is not only investing in bike infrastructure, they are making things more difficult for cars. In fact, they plan to eliminate 65,000 parking spaces for cars by 2030. But much of the world has spent the last 100 years prioritizing car traffic, and the effort now to integrate bikes has in some cases created confusion, anger, and tragedy. Both pedestrian and cyclist deaths actually grew last year. Sharon Johnson from the Associated Press has more.
On her 34th birthday, Brittany Glover's loved ones wanted to be where she spent the last seconds of her life.
Brittany didn't have to die.
A life, her mom says, could have seen many more birthdays had flashing lights, speed bumps, or medians been in place. The flight attendant had only lived in Atlanta for 48 hours when a driver struck and killed her while crossing Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway.
And you have to ask yourself, if it was my family, what would I want? Because it's me today. Tonight, not tomorrow, tonight, this next half hour, it might be you. That's how many pedestrian deaths that we have.
Across the country, mothers like Valerie Handy Carey, residents and advocates are pushing to change car-centered culture. They want increased funding to public transportation and safety improvements for cyclists and pedestrians.
We already, in the past, hit the point of diminishing returns. We're going to have to examine other transportation modes that make that easier, or else we're just going to have to deal with increased congestion and increased traffic fatalities.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, pedestrian deaths are at a 4-decade high. Fatalities increased by 13% in 2022. Cyclist deaths rose by 2%.
There is unmet demand for biking and walking in communities. Everywhere we went, more people want to bike, more people want to walk, but they can't.
Denver residents Phyllis Mack and Jonathan Stalls know.
In the winter time, they don't shovel this at all. That's why I don't go out.
After years of a dangerous trek to just get to the bus stop, Mack helped secure $400,000 in city funding for her neighborhood sidewalks. A recently passed city ordinance will fund repairs of Denver sidewalks.
When you're standing at a bus stop without a shelter, without a bench, in the dirt, getting sprayed by a bus, sprayed by cars in a rainstorm, holding grocery bags, holding the hands of children, it is dehumanizing. Let's stop playing and putting pedestrian mobility in this side pocket.
In Charlotte, where every month hundreds of cyclists flood the streets.
Just have people sort of like take over the streets for a moment and sort of show that we're here and show what the world could be like if we, more of us rode bikes and less of us drove cars.
The city plans to add shaded bikeways, trails, and more bus lines by 2040.
The light was fixed.
There have been wins in Atlanta. Waukesha Howe transformed her old neighborhood after advocating for streetlights, crosswalks, and bike lanes.
I was like, there's no way I'm walking and could possibly get hurt, because I'm the butter of my family. Like I'm that person. There's no way I'm putting my life in danger, my children's life in danger. I got to do something now, like right now.
But the path to walkable communities comes with high hurdles: lack of funding, red tape, project prioritizing.
How many more people have to lose their lives before change happens, before it becomes a priority?
Construction is underway to make Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway safer by narrowing it from 4 lanes to 3. The project doesn't include the stretch where Brittany Glover was killed. Sharon Johnson, Associated Press, Atlanta.
Maine is also responding to the increased interest in cycling. The Department of Transportation actually unveiled their plan for the future, and it includes investments in active transportation like biking and walking.
And this will be the first full summer of Portland's bike share program. The bikes, which you can rent through an app, were installed last August.